making this video to help people that are using the Paxman cold capping or scalp cooling system. My name is Denise Shapiro and I am a 64-year-old periodontist. I was diagnosed with endometrial cancer last year and went through chemo. It was the worst experience of my life, April through August of last year. I was told that cold capping worked on only 50% of the patients, and if you were lucky, you would retain 50% of your hair. And I'm here to tell you differently. I gleaned much of my information from people on the Facebook Paxman cold capping group, and I think that a lot of the success hinges on a good fit of the cap, and I'm going to give you some tips. So ultimately, I hope to open a dialogue with Mr. Paxman about ideas I think could get you a better fit. But for now, I'm going to give you some tips and things that helped me with good success. And hopefully, ultimately, the Paxman system will cost little or nothing to the patient. I think this is something that should be available to all. And I do think that if we can get the fit better and get people to understand how to use the cap so it fits better, many of us can retain our hair. So I want to tell you two reasons why for me this was important. The first is, as a periodontist seeing patients every day, I felt that it was a very personal journey for me and I didn't have to tell friends, family, or patients unless I wanted to. So that was the number one reason I was happy that I retained much of my hair. The second reason is that I did lose all the hair on my body, eyebrows, eyelashes, and everything. And even though a wig would have looked better, I know at the end of the day when I took that wig off, if I had seen, for me, a bald head, it would have just put me into a bigger depression than I was already experiencing, because obviously people feel very depressed, physical and mental issues and all of that. So I did have some hair on my head. I think bald is beautiful, but I think if you want to try the system and retain some of your hair, you should go for it. Lastly, I just want to tell you that I'm not getting paid anything for this video. I have no ties to any of the products I'm going to talk about, and I think there are many other products out there that will do the same thing that the products I will tell you about can do. And again, I don't have any affiliation with any of these companies. So the first thing I want to tell you is just about the day you're going to go for your chemo. I do think that if you can take Ativan or something similar an hour beforehand and perhaps some Tylenol, that is very helpful. It makes you very, very sleepy. I thought at my first chemo that I would be reading and doing all kinds of things, and that was not what happened. I did listen to music, and I want to recommend very flat earbuds, if you can find them, that will go underneath the cap. And these are flat against my head, and this plugged into my iPhone. So I would recommend, if you can find these flat earbuds, I believe I got them through Amazon. I would also recommend an electric blanket because you will get cold. I found in most of the people that have used the cold capping system have coldness for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and then I know this sounds strange, but the coldness goes away. And I actually would ask my husband, who is, I'm going to cry, they're helping me through all of my chemo sessions, if the system was even working. So the coldness does go away. I would bring a neck pillow and bring some snacks. All right, so that's what you're going to bring with you. I'm going to show you, I do not have the cap anymore because Paxman does have a recycling program where if you send the cap back, they will donate it to someone that is financially struggling. And if you ever need it in the future, hopefully not, they will give the cap back to you. So the first thing is, this bottle came with the Paxman system. You need to wet your hair very, very thoroughly. When they show you in the video how to wet your hair, for me, I found that it was really not wet enough. And the first time I used the cap, I don't think that my hair was wet enough, and I did lose most of the shedding after the first chemo that I had. Wide tooth comb always. So I'm going to wet some more. And for those of you that have longer hair, you need to only wet around your head. You do not need to wet all of your hair. So I'm going to wet my hair using wide tooth comb. Be very, 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 very gentle with your hair. Okay, I also wore a small inner cap and outer cap. Like I said, I don't think that the caps fit as well as they could, and I am hoping to open up a dialogue with Mr. Paxman because I have some ideas on how you can make things fit better. All right, so my hair is quite wet. You can see I've combed it back very gently with my wide tooth comb. All right, now you're going to place, you need to then apply the conditioner and also comb that through. I don't have the shampoo and conditioner anymore because I donated the cap back, and I actually sent all my products to people on the Facebook group that were interested in my products. So you're going to now apply conditioner. Let's pretend like this is conditioner now. And you do want to put that on because it helps when you remove the inner cap when you're done with your chemo. All right, so now the inner cap goes on. You want to have someone help you fit that. I did find that behind my ears and in the back, it didn't really cover, and it seems that many of the people in the group experienced the same problem. So you might lose some hair here and in the back of your head. I found that if I took a washcloth and wet it, soaked it very nicely, folded it in half, and put it over the inner cap before the outer cap, that gave me a good connection, and that was a tip that I got from the group. Then you're going to put on the outer cap and tighten it up as best you can. I do not think you need the headband at all. I do not think that helps, and it fell down and it was very difficult to keep on. The chin strap you need to tighten up. That does get sort of irritating and chafing during the hours that you're sitting. And although people do use resistance bands on the outside of the outer cap, I got some long cotton scarves that I folded in half and quarters. I put one on the back of my head and one on the front, tied it under my chin tightly. Again, my husband helped me with this. You want to really have everything tight and in contact with your hair and head as best as possible. Also, another question that has come up quite often is, can you go to the bathroom? Absolutely, you can unplug, go to the bathroom, just try to make it quick. But if you're hydrating and you're having a lot of fluids, obviously, you're going to have to go to the bathroom. So that's the cold capping on the day of your chemo. When you're done, I would recommend either that night or the next night doing your first rinse. I would not recommend washing your hair more than twice a week. So this is the one I'm going to now go into as far as what I use, and I'm going to show you how I washed my hair. So I would use something that has a nozzle. I do have a utility sink here. I would say that most people have a nozzle on their kitchen sink. So if you don't have a utility sink, but something with a nozzle so that the spray is very, very low that you can control. Do not get in your shower and do this unless you want a very, very cold shower. So cool or cold water on very, very low intensity. And I used an ACV, it's an apple cider vinegar hair rinse. I used it full strength. So it's called ACV apple cider vinegar hair rinse. And I will show you how I use that. I'm going to use something else, but it does come out of a squeeze bottle like this. So you use it full strength. And I'm going to show you how I did that right now. So I'm going to put the water on, very, very low strength, and as cool as you can tolerate it. I did go through chemo when it was mostly warm weather, so this was not too difficult for me to do. All right, so you're going to bend your head over the sink going to take a break for 1 second, and I'm going to put a towel around my neck. And you should get a microfiber towel if you can, something that's very gentle on your hair. I'm going to clip this. So I'm going to wet my hair. My head is turned over the sink. Ooh, that is cold. And this is how I used, I'm going to turn this down a little bit. This is a little bit too hard. This is how I used the water on my head. Literally just patted it on my head. I really tried not to pull on my hair at all. So I patted this on my head. And then the shampoo, like I said, the ACV apple cider vinegar hair rinse. I squirted on my hair all around. My husband helped me to make sure I got it everywhere. And I patted it on my head just like this. No scrubbing on the scalp. No using your regular motions to wash your hair. So I'm just getting it on my scalp and on my hair. And now I'm going to rinse it off. Again, patting on my head. Do not scrub your hair. Just pat down. Wishful thinking, you're going to keep your hair on your head by applying pressure. So this is what I did. All right, when this was rinsed out, I then used an ACV vinegar mask, it's called. So it's got a little bit of a thicker consistency. I put that on my hair, patted it on in the same way. I'm going to now turn the hair off, and then I rinse that off like I just did with the shampoo. You can see now I'm squeezing out excess water by just patting my head. And this is not a microfiber towel, but I would gently pat dry my hair like I'm doing. And now I'm going to comb, wide tooth comb always, very gently. And I'm looking in a mirror here, but very, very gently. I'm going to comb out my hair, and I'm going to let it air dry. Do not put any product in your hair. Do not use a blow dryer or a flat iron. You just need to let your hair air dry. And your hair might not look as good as it used to, but if you can keep your hair, that's the goal. So I'm going to let my hair air dry. So that's the night of chemo or perhaps the next day. If you need a second wash during the week, and I really wouldn't wash more than twice, the products I used, and I diluted everything else that I used for the second wash. I do think there are a lot of products out there, so again, do not feel you have to use these products, but I used the Amplixin Stimulating Shampoo, diluted in a squeeze bottle like this. So I put in a little bit of shampoo and I filled the rest of the bottle up with water. And then after I washed this out, I put on the Amplixin Intensive Growth Serum, left this in, and let my hair air dry. Another product I would occasionally use during the week is Avita, this Nutriplenish product. Again, just spray it into your hair and let your hair air dry. So the shampoo should be diluted. Any shampoo I would recommend diluting. And then if you want to put something else in to allow it to dry and maybe have some shape, these are the two products I used. If you're using a conditioner, again, a spray, I don't think that necessarily has to be diluted. A couple of other things that helped me out were to always use silk or satin pillowcases. As a periodontist also, I wore a cap on my head, and I had someone sew in some pillowcases I bought. They're fairly inexpensive at Amazon. And one of my husband's employees actually sewed all of the satin into the hats that I wore. So that was great. I also always showered with, this is called Turbella shower cap. You can use this wet or dry. It's a very large cap. You can wash this. Again, I have no affiliation with any of the products I'm recommending, but if your hair is dry or wet and you want to shower, you can put this on. I also work out quite a bit. I know it's difficult to do if you're going through chemo. I did my best to keep up my regular routine. I used products made by a company called Mission. I don't think they make this anymore. This was actually the most helpful to me. This gets wet. They also have caps, so you can wet these. And if you go out running or walking, you want to keep your head cool. This I would wet and put on my head like this. And I would actually tie it around my head, and it would keep my scalp cool. I'm not sure they make this anymore, but if you can find something similar to this, anything that's going to keep your head cool, I would recommend. And then, although it's not recommended to dye your hair during chemo or shortly afterwards, I did use Nature Tint, which you can get at Whole Foods or online. And I had my stylist help me with this. Again, my hair was washed very gently in the sink at the salon and patted down with, I brought my shampoo, and she applied Nature Tint, not to my roots, but it was totally gray. Again, I'm 64 years old, so I was able to not be totally gray during chemo. I did it during chemo and right after chemo. And then the last question I know people often ask is, when can you dye your hair? So I did wait 6 months. I ultimately had a keratin and I had highlights applied. I did make sure that I had had no shedding for a while. I did start going to my hairstylist to have her, with my shampoo, the diluted shampoo, gently apply to my hair and rinse out. And it was probably about 5 months before we used a blow dryer, and at 6 months I had the keratin done and ultimately highlights, and I was not shedding any hair, which was very important to me. And now I'm back to my normal routine. So hopefully this has helped you out, and that's pretty much it. Good luck in your journey, and just know that people out there are all wishing you well, and we're here for you. Thank you. Bye-bye.